Hi, this is Mary Anderson, and I will be presenting on SeaWorld's response to the 2013 Netflix documentary called Blackfish. Blackfish is a shocking film that premiered on Netflix July 19, 2013. It captured a specific story of a SeaWorld trainer's death by a captive orca during a live performance in the Orlando, Florida facility. It goes into depth by persuading the viewer that SeaWorld facilities are unethical. After the release of this film, the topic has been highly controversial. SeaWorld has failed to communicate effectively during this crisis, with refusing to acknowledge the situation, hold interviews with press, and apologize. Only until recently has the organization rejected the idea of changing their values and rebranding to gain back their loyal customers. Key stakeholders for this crisis include employees, both board members and facility workers, customers, and all media. These are two Twitter examples that were actual tweets from SeaWorld after the release of the film. The response to these tweets were not shockingly negative. It's not what customers wanted to hear from the organization, as they were not unapologetic and they pointed fingers back to the documentary instead of addressing it head on. And it seemed as if SeaWorld's main social media strategy was to display Blackfish as propaganda for animal rights. They stuck by this reasoning for a while with no budging on further explanation to the public. So, because of all of this, this was one of their worst decisions throughout the crisis and worsened their reputation further. SeaWorld has gradually began rebranding to focus on conservation rather than entertainment purposes with whales. Other effective actions taken that were implemented in 2016 were also eliminating orca performances and breeding altogether. The conservation efforts are focused on rescue missions for not only whales but all other marine animals associated with SeaWorld throughout the world. SeaWorld has also incorporated rescue support funds as part of the admission ticket. There were a couple fails throughout this crisis that SeaWorld can learn from moving forward. One of the largest fails in this crisis was the lack in an apology from them. And actually, to this date, there is still not a formal apology, either written or recorded by an executive. Their overall lack of response was a huge factor in the crisis and is just now starting to be mended with the public. According to the Corporate Communications International Journal, ethical standards of an apology should include being truthful, voluntary, timely, must address all stakeholders, and be performed in an appropriate context. None of these were executed, hence the reason why SeaWorld was at a loss of both profit and customer loyalty after the film. Other notable failures included the social media and press communication. Executives ignored and refused to be interviewed by news stations regarding the documentary. The film was also initially ignored altogether by SeaWorld and then blasted as propaganda, as mentioned before. Lastly, they could have partnered with relevant whale conservation organizations to ultimately win back the loyalty of their customers. This crisis is continuous and will be for the next couple of years. There are many failures related with communication with stakeholders, and their success was in rebranding the organization to focus on conservation efforts. The most important takeaway from this crisis was the importance to have dialogue with all stakeholders. And for this specific crisis, that would include social media engagement, press interviews, and honesty with all improvement details.